History may be on our side. We know that. But it does feel like, with all the stuff happening in the markets and all the stuff coming up, the fiscal cliff, the fight over this or that, it does feel like the market is a little more on shaky ground maybe than it has been all year. How do you see it?
Well, when you look at the major indexes, the NASDAQ and the S&P, they look a little tired to us. Now, that, I mean, no way saying that the trend's not going to continue to move higher, because we firmly believe that it is. It kind of like the old saying is, don't fight the Fed, well, don't fight the trend either. But that doesn't mean we're not due for a correction or a pullback. So I clearly think that we are. The NASDAQ and the S&P, they've just been marching forward, day in and day out without any kind of meaningful pullback or correction. And a correction is a positive thing. It needs to happen from time to time.
Yeah, and if we get that correction, which we have not had in, obviously the pandemic hit, so really 18 months was the first time, although that was, I don't want to call it an artificial correction, but certainly was related to something much bigger than the stock market itself. Would that be any kind of a buying opportunity? I mean, if you're in it for the long haul, you're supposed to buy lower, I think.
Yeah. Well, our proprietary indicator, the HCM buy line, and we tell our investors all the time, any pullback, as long as it's positive, is a buying opportunity. So you'll see us buying into that pullback if we get one. And, we haven't had one in such a long time, but I'm seeing so many things broaden out. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities still out there that things aren't really that far overextended or overbought, like small caps, biotech. I was looking at Intel this morning, and Intel's looking incredibly positive to us. It's making, on a short-term basis, it's making higher highs and moving higher, and it crossed above its 50-day moving average. I think it's a great trade here as a turning trade to close out the end of the year, maybe up in the mid-60s, maybe up pushing 70.
Wow, watching Intel then. Are you bullish on the other semiconductor stocks or just Intel?
Well, Brian, I've been bullish on semiconductors for quite some time now, and it's been an ugly trade. I mean, you look at the chart, and it's not been a very pretty trade, but it's doing exactly what we wanted it to do, which is move higher and make us money. But, we like the semiconductor trade, and we think that they're going to move higher towards the end of the year. We think it's a good catch-up trade. It hasn't moved as high as some of the other indexes has. So we're very bullish on the semiconductors. But I got to tell you, that Intel trade is looking more and more positive to us. I mean, just catching the turns down here, when you catch the turns on a major stock like that acts like it wants to move higher in a real rapid pace, I mean, it's just a good short-term trade, I think.
By the way, if you like semis, we've got some interesting data in our insider buying segment on one name in the space coming up. That's what we call a tease in the business. Vance, I heard you referenced small caps. I mean, they were red hot to begin the year. Then they cooled way down. It's a big group. They're starting to show some signs of life as well. Where do you stand on the small caps?
Well, they came out the first of the year and they looked just terrific. And then for the rest of the year, the past 7-8 months, they're like DOA, like dead on arrival. But I think that what they're doing is they're building up a classic base here, and I think they are going to break out towards the end of the year. And Brian, the funny thing about small caps, they're kind of bizarre because they'll sit there and go sideways and do nothing for a long period of time. But when they decide to run, man, they're a horse and they run fast.
Yeah, they certainly do. I mean, how would you play it? Do you go individual stocks? Do you go in ETF? Do you buy the Russell 2000? How would we do that if our audience agrees and says, yeah, I'd like to get into the small caps?
VBK. I'd buy VBK, Vanguard Small Cap Growth. You get everything there. Trying to pick out the next great small cap is kind of a challenge. Just buy the whole basket, and I think you'll get just as much bang for the buck. But VBK's been setting up just perfectly. I mean, it's almost like a classic William O'Neill breakout. If we can get that breakout, I think we're going to get a really good runner in small caps towards the end of the year. I think you can make the cash register ring in a pretty short-term basis.